Hi everybody, welcome to Ramblings of a Texas Craft Room. Hi everybody, I'm Terry, and normally I am rambling about paper crafting in the middle of my craft room, but as you can see today, we're in the middle of my kitchen. I will not be rambling about paper crafting today. I will be making a instructional video for a product in which I am now manufacturing, and people have come by my antique mall and are interested in this product, and I have directed them to this channel to watch this video. So if you're here looking for paper crafting, I'm very sorry. About a year ago, I have pretty well stopped paper crafting. There are lots of videos online of paper crafting that you can check out. Some of them are mine and some of them are other people's that can give you a lot of instructions. But I started painting furniture about a year ago, and I really find that I really like it, and so now that's where just about all of my time is. I started selling it out of my house, and now I sell it at the antique mall. And the whole purpose of this video is about a product in which I have made, which when you add it to regular latex paint, it makes the most wonderful boutique type chalk paint, and it's called the Painted Petticoat Concoction. And the Painted Petticoat is the name of my booth at the antique mall, and concoction is just basically what this is, just a conglomerate of different ingredients that I have found once you add this to latex paint, it just turns that into the most wonderful chalk paint. As we all know, chalk paint is very expensive, and when I started doing my booth, I always get two questions. The first question is always, do you use chalk paint? And my answer to that is no, I did not. And the second one is, where do I buy my products, or where do I find furniture to redo? And that is found everywhere. You put out fillers everywhere, garage sales, thrift stores, the curb, your neighbor's yard, anywhere you can find. You let people know and they will give it to you if you just haul it off 9 out of 10 times. But the chalk painting is very important, because if you paint a lot of furniture, you're gonna get furniture that has laminate on it. And to paint furniture with laminate on it was a real problem unless you had chalk paint. But we all know chalk paint was very expensive. Chalk paint for a quart about like this, it could be anywhere from $38 to $48 depending on what brand you buy, and then you might have to pay shipping on top of it. So it really was not good for me. Economically, there was no way I could do chalk paint. So, but I did need chalk paint. I needed it because I got a lot of furniture given to me that had laminate on it, because no one wanted to refinish it. So to do that, you had to prime it first, usually a couple coats of primer, and then you had to put a couple coats of whatever color you wanted. If you were going with a dark color, that was even more work. But sometimes, you know, you had to do it because that's the furniture you had. And if you primed it with a lighter primer, white primer, or even a lighter shade of the color you were going with, when you went to sand it down or went to distress it, that white primer always showed, and that was always a big problem. So I did like everybody else. I went online to try to figure out how to make chalk paint, and I found the recipes just like everybody else did, with the plaster of Paris, with the unsanded grout. I didn't like either one of those recipes. I tried them. They might work okay if you're just painting one piece of furniture, but I paint 30 hours a week. I paint every day, and so it just really wasn't just didn't work for me. So I set out to find how I could make my own chalk paint, and I discovered how to do it, and that's what the concoction is. And I'm going to show you how this works, and then I'm going to tell you what its limitations are, because it does have some. Its limitation is that it will change the color of your paint slightly. You must know that up front. Now, if you're like me and you buy this can right here for $48 to paint an end table, you're going to end up painting everything in your house this color, because you're going to have a lot of paint left. Okay, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to buy a whole lot of Oops paint, which is what I buy. And if you know anything about, if you've been painting for any length of time, you know about Oops paint. You can get it at Walmart, you can get it at Home Depot, Lowe's, Ace, anywhere has it. Anywhere that mixes paint has Oops paint. And all Oops paint is that they have mixed this to a particular color for someone, and they didn't like the color. It didn't mix correctly. And so they're selling it. I bought this with Sherwin-Williams for $2. That's the kind of paint I want to buy. I want to buy this because I can buy 6 of these, $2 a pop, and I can have 6 different colors. And that's what I needed. I didn't need a whole bunch of one color. I needed a whole lot, a little bit of a lot of colors. But I needed it to be chalk paint, which I could not do. Now I can do that with my concoction. I'm going to show you how to mix it, and I'm going to show you what it does and how it changes your color. As you can see, the concoction is gray. Okay, if I add any colorant to this, it's going to change the color of your paint too. This is natural color. This is what it mixes. When I mix it up, this is the color I get. Okay, so it's going to gray out just a little bit of whatever color you're looking at. Okay, so if you're in a blue, it's going to be a little gray blue. If you look at Annie Sloan's original paints, or even CC Caldwell's, you'll see they all have a little bit of gray to them. Okay, that's because of the chalk that they're adding. Okay, that's part of what I've got in here. They're adding the same ingredient. Okay, and that's how they get that chalky look. When it dries, it really chalks out. That's why. Okay, so let me show you how to do it. I buy these little containers at the dollar store, and you get 2 of them for $1, and they work perfect. Now what I like to do is I like to mix mine 2 to 1. So that means if I'm going to put in a cup of the paint, which is what I'm going to do here, and I'm going to show you the before and after color so you can see how it changes just a little bit. Now I do find that if you have a color, oh, let me bring this down just a little bit so you'll be able to see what I'm doing. Okay, I noticed that if you have paints that are really good quality paints with a higher pigment, it doesn't change the color as much. If you have some of the Walmart brand paint, it does change it a little bit more. Okay, so now we're going to mix. I'm going to mix a half a cup of the concoction. We're going to stir our concoction. We're going to mix about a half a cup. Okay, and then I'm going to pour that into the paint, and you just dip it into the paint just like that. Okay. And then we're going to stir it. And see, it mixes very well, but you can tell immediately how thick. See how it just bonds to the paint? It just grabs that paint and bonds right to that paint. So we are stirring and stirring and stirring. Now, if I'm using a lesser quality paint, let's say I'm using the Walmart basic brand paint that you get $10 for a gallon, you might add just a little bit more of the concoction. But if you're mixing a good quality paint, you don't need more than a 2 to 1. Okay. Now, as you can see, now if I want this to be thicker, let's look at this paint here that I mixed earlier today. You know, they tell you if you leave Annie Sloan's or CC Caldwell's paint open, it'll thicken up. Okay, this is what it'll do. Same thing this does. Okay, very same thing. So if I'm coloring something pretty dark, then I will mix it this thick. I'll add more concoction to it and just keep mixing it until I get the concoction, of ice cream. Okay, and if it's too thick, you add a little bit of water. If it's too thin, you add a little bit more concoction to it. Okay, so this is the paint that we got. Now I'm going to show you. This is this right here is the color, and you probably won't be able to see it online. You know, I just want you to know that there is a difference. Okay. And this is here. Now, I can see here in my kitchen that this is a little bit grayer. It's just grayer, and this is a little more brighter. Now, when this dries, it's going to have a beautiful chalky look to it. I'm going to show you. Let me grab a paper towel. I'm going to show you some that I painted earlier today, and I'm going to show you what it does. Okay? And well, let's paint this one first, and then I'll show you the other. Okay? And this right here is just laminate. It's just an old particle board. You can see here where the particle board, it's just old particle laminate. But normally you can't do anything with. But this will brush on beautifully. See? And then I'm going to brush this, and then I'm going to brush some original paint on too, so you can see what color it does. Okay? Here's the original paint here. And grab some of this original paint and put a little bit of that on there too. This is a kind of a purpley blue color, and it really doesn't change it as much. But this is a little bit grayer. This is a little bit more purple, and this is a little bit grayer. Okay? And when it dries, this will be a real chalky. Let me show you some that I painted earlier today, and you'll see. Okay? All right. This is some that I painted earlier today. This is mixed with the concoction. Okay, this is what it originally was. Okay, and as you can see, that's going to come right off. This is going to stay. It's just the same particle board, just like that one was. But this will come right off. Okay, now see the difference in color? This is much lighter and this is much darker. Now let me show you. And the same thing happens with Annie Sloan's, same thing happens with C.C. Caldwell. When you get your wax and you start waxing it, the color comes back. See that? Now this has not been sanded, so it's really rough, but you can see the color comes back. Now it's going to dry lighter than that, but not as light as this. And that's the only thing about the concoction, is you have to be aware that it changes your color a little bit. But if you're buying a mixed tinted paint anyway, you're probably not looking for an exact color. And if you are, this may not be the product for you. But if you're painting a lot of furniture and you need it to do the same thing that you can do with the boutique paints, then my product is for you. Okay? But see how this just comes off and this doesn't? And this is only one coat. You get 2 coats on this and you can't get it off at all. But this, this right here will rub off. I mean, you can literally just rub it off because it doesn't stick. See? That's only one coat though. Gotta remember, that's only one coat. Okay, so we have to do 2 coats if you want it to stick really well. But this does stick very well. Okay, now you can get it off if you pry and pry. You're going to get it off, but it's going. And then when you put the wax over it, it's going to seal it for you, just like they do. You can glaze this. I do recommend that if you're going to glaze it, that you need to wax it first because this is very dry chalk paint, and it's going the glaze is just going to stick to it immediately. It's not going to glide. So just like the Annie Sloan paint, just like the C.C. Caldwell paint, or any of the other boutique paints, you've got to wax it first. Then you can glaze it. You can wax it first, then put on your dark wax. This takes dark wax beautifully. So does that make sense? Okay, I know it's hard to tell on the computer, and now in my booth I am going to be having some demonstrations in my booth, and I am in Fort Worth, Texas. I realize there are going to be people watching this that are not in this area, but if you are in Fort Worth, then please come out and see a live demonstration. I'm going to give away free samples if you come to the demonstration so that you can see what this will do, and I'm telling you, you're going to love it. It's not for everybody. If you're not comfortable with mixing your own paints, or that the paint color is going to be slightly different than what you think it's going to be, this might not be the product for you. But if you're pretty adventurous and you mix your own paints anyway, I would say come on out and give this a call. Give this a try. Okay, let me show you. Okay, you see this? See how it's streaked? That's what normally happens when you paint on laminate. It streaks just like that. It'll bubble up. It's like it's got wax on it or something. But see how this doesn't do that. It just doesn't. But this right here will do that. Okay, and you'll have to, and it's not going to stick. I don't care how much you dry it, it's not going to stick. But this is going to stick. And it doesn't bubble up like that. And when you go to sand it down, and you do need to sand it in between coats, I mean, to give yourself a nice smooth finish. But let's say you don't want a nice smooth finish. Let's say you want, like Annie Sloan does, that swashing. Well, this thickness of paint, you can get that. You can just go right ahead and get all the texture you want with this. It does beautiful texture. Or you can smooth it out and then sand in between coats, and when you sand, you get the finest little dust, just a tiny, really thin dust when you sand. It'll give you just a smooth. People will ask you, after you stand in between coats, they're going to ask if you spray painted it. It's going to be that smooth. Okay, so anyway, that's what the concoction is, and it's called the Painted Petticoats Concoction, and I'm going to sell it in a pint jar just like this for $10. If you want me to ship it to you, you'll have to pay for shipping. I don't know what it would cost, but I will certainly see if I can put it in a different jar that's not glass, so it wouldn't be so much shipping. But I will be happy to ship you some. My zip code here is 76108. And if you want to come by and see where this is at, I am in an antique booth in the Antique Mall called A Ties to the Past Antique Mall, and that is on Camp Bowie in Fort Worth. And so I'd love for you to come out and chat with me about it. If you do get some of it, please let me know how it goes. I hope I'm trying to keep where the camera is. Let's raise it up. There we go. I hope you can see me now. Okay, it's called the Painted Petticoat. and I hope you get to try it. And I think you're going to love it as much as I did. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I will put my name and number down here at the bottom, and you're welcome to contact me with any questions. I will do my best to answer for you. Okay, thank you so much, guys. Bye.